car totaled? That could be a problem. How are you supposed to transport your 5 kids to school? Or pick up that TV to replace your old one that was broken by your toddler and 12-year-old? Or go on a 6-night vacation to Vegas? Simple. All you have to do is buy a 3-row crossover, right? Maybe not. Because there's a good chance that you aren't considering another option simply because it's just not cool. The minivan. Yes, you heard me right. The minivan just isn't as cool as it once was. After the 3-row crossover from Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC had arrived on dealership lots, minivan sales just began to dwindle and drop at an alarming rate. But what is it about a 3-row crossover that minivans don't appeal to so many customers like they once did? Example. My parents were in the market for a 3-row vehicle before and asked me for a suggestion that was not a minivan. When I asked them why not even consider a minivan, Mom answered, "It drives very poorly," and Dad just flat out thinks that they are uncool and terrible vehicles. But that's probably because my dad is a bit of an auto mechanic and likes to build a few hot rods himself. But first, I better address Mom's point. Minivans are terrible to drive, but that's if you buy an old one. Newer vans have dramatically improved their driving dynamics, even to a point where you could have a sliver of fun that you can get in a large and heavy sedan. Older ones did used to drive like crap, but times have changed, Mom. But in terms of Dad's point, it's just because he doesn't think they're cool. And wow, does word get around about that, because now there are so many people out there who doesn't think that minivan is cool. I'm willing to bet that you, the viewer, are probably thinking, why am I defending a minivan? These things aren't cool. It's just because you don't really know about them and what they're used for. That's why I'm explaining these things. In fact, I need to explain these things because there are so many benefits about these things that are just being glimpsed over because it's not cool. Where shall I begin? You may not know this, but most kids most likely do not pay attention to other people's vehicles when opening the door. I was quite guilty of this myself, for your information. But sliding doors don't allow the other vehicle to be hit by an opening door because they're not opening out. They're just popping out like a couple of inches and then sliding out of the way, versus opening at a almost 90-degree angle. But also, I should probably mention that the door space actually is pretty massive compared to your standard opening door. And yes, I actually mean this. If you actually measure the amount of space when the doors open on a minivan versus your standard, even your standard car, there's actually more space to get in, which means even if you have an old person getting in the 2nd row or 3rd row, I think that's kind of disrespectful for the elderly, if I'm being honest, but if they were to get into the 2nd or 3rd row, it'd be so much easier for the elderly to get in because there's more room and more space to work with. Other reasons why this space is relevant is because it makes it so much easier for buckling young, crazy, feisty kids who really do not like to buckle their seatbelts. And also, when it comes to passengers getting into the 3rd row, most minivans, people take out the center seat if the minivan has a center seat in the 2nd row. Normally that's taken out so that way there's a pass-through, and well, larger opening means easier to get in, and also that means they can easily slide past the 1st, 2nd row seat to get to the center pass-through to get to the 3rd row. Space, really helpful. Also, if you get a new minivan and the correct one, what if you have your hands full of, say, an infant or toddler, a whole bunch of groceries and all that, and it's kind of hard to open the door when your hands are full? Well, with the Chrysler Pacifica and the brand new Toyota Sienna that came out, all you have to do is wave your foot under the door and it'll open up automatically. That's convenient. Who doesn't like convenience? Now, I know there are going to be some parents out there that are going to yell at me for this, mine in particular, but also entertainment is usually just flat out better in a minivan. Why is that? I mean, most minivans come with a rear TV for the kids to watch, And yes, I know there are parents that are just going to be like, why are we giving our kids this access to screens? This is bad. But you know what? Sometimes, especially with a little rascal that I know, sometimes it helps to have a screen in front of them just to get them to shut up. But also, when it comes to the newer minivans, there are more ways to get them to shut up than just playing a DVD on the TV. In fact, it now can become a lot more enjoyable for even older kids, because now, instead of just inserting CD to watch a movie, you can now stream your phone to it, watch Blu-ray discs. In fact, a lot of minivans are coming with HDMI ports so you can plug in like an Xbox or a PlayStation. Video games on the road. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the young ones would appreciate that, even though the parents are probably not. Should I also mention that newer minivans are coming with Wi-Fi hotspots, so if for some reason the screen is being taken up by the 3-year-old's favorite TV show and you want to watch something else on Netflix, well, minivans are coming with a Wi-Fi hotspot. All you have to do is pair your phone to that and, well, you can watch Netflix, assuming that you're within cellular range. But here's another cool thing about minivans that are actually becoming very useful, and I think parents would totally appreciate these. You kids ever get in a fight and you are just so tired of yelling? Well, minivans are now coming with a feature, the Odyssey in particular. All you have to do is push a button and it'll use the car microphones that you use to talk to someone on the phone, and it'll project your voice to the rear speakers so that way your kids can hear you. No yelling necessary, unless you really have to because they are like screaming high frequency pitches. And to take that even further, the Honda Odyssey also offers a built-in camera. So that way, if they are fighting, you want to know who's fighting with who. If you can't tell which screen is which, well, all you have to do is just tap a certain button in the infotainment system, and it'll show you what that camera that's facing the second and third rows, and yes, it can see all 6 seats perfectly, even at night. You can see what's going on. So that way, you know exactly who to yell at and who to ground for a month. Face it, guys. After you hear this list, you will think that minivans are more practical than your 3-row crossover. We'll start with drinks. Now, us Americans, for some reason, carry a lot of drinks. And in most minivans nowadays, there's enough cup holders for all 7 to 8 passengers to have 2 each. Most crossovers can barely fit half of that. There are also countless more storage options within a minivan, to the point where you could potentially lose something. Center console isn't connected to the dash most of the time, leaving space for a purse or diaper bag. Those center consoles are also filled with at least 3 bins. 3! And there's 2 to 3 more built into the dash. I'm not including the glove box and the door pockets just because practically every vehicle has those. That's a max of 8 possibilities just in the front row. Minivans are also much better with luggage for family road trips. Something that 3-row crossovers still don't offer to this day is a lower floor for resting luggage, meaning that you can fit so much more compared to the standard floor level being as high as the bottom of the 3rd row backrest. Also, because of that bin, the 3rd row seats have enough room to fold into the floor, allowing taller objects to fit into the expanded cargo room. And in Chrysler minivans, the 2nd row is also capable of folding into the floor, so you don't even have to remove the seats, and still keep the load floor low, fitting taller objects. And when the 2nd row seats are in place, the bins that they fold into is open for even more storage. It's so practical. Other small things are the fact that it's really hard to not locate a charge point for a device. Also, new minivans are offering a way to keep the vehicle clean. They're offering vacuum cleaners. Not only is there more room for cargo, but also passengers. The most noticeable room improvement compared to 3-row crossovers is located in the 3rd row itself. No 3-row crossover on the face of this planet is capable of comfortably seating 3 full-grown adults in the 3rd row. And while you might say, well, what about the Chevrolet Suburban and the Ford Expedition? Those aren't crossovers. Those are SUVs. The difference, one is truck-based, which means they're gonna be larger. I'm talking about crossovers here. To this day, not a single full-grown adult can fit in the third row comfortably. So combined with all of this space for your luggage, your passengers, and all these other nooks and crannies, it's a practical box on wheels. Why wouldn't you buy it if you're looking for a practical vehicle? Other perks include the fuel economy. Minivans may not be as many as they once were, but they still can meet and or beat fuel consumption expectations compared to the three-row crossover competition. In fact, now that hybrid and plug-in hybrid vans are available, hybrid being the Sienna, plug-in hybrid being the Pacifica, the Toyota Sienna hybrid can hit 36 mpg. That's crazy. About 12 mpg better than most three rows. Why can't you consider these things practical? And the most practical thing of all is the value. All these things I mentioned, these things are coming loaded with so many different technologies. It's practical, it's heavily equipped with so many entertainment features and comfort features just to keep the family happy. Do you want to know something hilarious that I find? Despite that a minivan has more stuff in it, it's cheaper than the three-row crossover competition. I kid you not. If you fully spec out an Odyssey versus a Pilot, the Pilot is more expensive than the Odyssey. Same for the Sienna and the Highlander. Minivans are actually much better values than the three-row crossover competition. After naming all of these benefits, why aren't they selling? And to me, this is out of sheer stupidity as of why they're not selling. It's all because of cool factor or lack thereof. Minivans just aren't cool nowadays, which is, to me, an absolute shame, because especially with the brand new minivans rolling out, these things are practicality machines, and the families that have bought them have been extremely happy with them. I just don't understand why we have to have this whole cool factor thing come in and ruin the sales. In fact, I'm being honest with you right now. I personally do not have a minivan right now because my needs do not require one. My current needs just require basic transportation to get my body from my house to wherever else. I'm not hauling anything else or any passengers at the moment. There's only two people who mainly ride in my car. Me and another family member to church. That's it. So I don't need a three-row vehicle right now, but I am being truthfully honest with you. If I were to buy a three-row vehicle, I'm getting a minivan. It just makes sense. I don't care about this whole cool factor thing, because the truth is, after what I just described, these things sound like very cool machines. Next vehicle purchase I make, assuming that it's not replacing Red Fox, it's going to be a minivan. Thank you for watching. Do me a favor, interact with all the stuff below. Be sure to check out the rest of the Random Alpha Network. My name is Alpha DeWolf. Random Alpha, signing out.